This demo reviews utilizing the Edge node for standard ETL processing. This process looks at how legacy data from a mainframe can be loaded into HDFS from the Edge node. So I've opened one of the two tasks that's going to take my mainframe files and transform them to HDFS. Now, an important step for this transformation is for DMXH to understand the organization, the metadata, the layout of this mainframe file. So with this mainframe file, there is a COBOL copybook that I am going to retrieve and add within this task by clicking the Link External Metadata button. After retrieving the COBOL copybook, now I can apply it to my file. A copy of this file was placed on the Edge node, so I'm going to add the location of that file by using an environment variable, or I could explicitly define the path of where this file exists. This file type is mainframe, but as you can see, DMXH supports an abundance of various file types. And because this mainframe file has a fixed record length, I will need to specify the record length, and I will put it in here. And to make sure that the values are translated accurately, I need to specify the appropriate encoding for this mainframe file. Here I'm going to define a target that will be the HDFS format of my mainframe file, and I will specify the appropriate format to ensure that it can be understood and processed by MapReduce. I've specified the location through an environment variable and also provided a name. And also very important, because the location of where the CDC, my change data capture, will retrieve the data is on a remote server, I need to specify where I want this file to land. So I have a predefined remote file connection, and I will choose it from this dialog. Now the purpose of this task is to transform my mainframe file to HDFS. And I've started that process by defining my mainframe file, the location and name of my mainframe file, and also the name and location of where I want it to exist as HDFS. Now if I run it as is, it's not going to work because, number one, they're different formats. And secondly, by default, if you don't specify a unique layout for your target, it is going to, meaning DMXH is going to automatically default to the source layout or metadata for the source. And that COBOL copybook is not going to work in HDFS. So I need to define a layout or metadata that is unique and specific to HDFS. And I do that by a reformat. So this is what this message is informing me of. So by right-clicking on my target, which will be my HDFS file, I can add a reformat by choosing it from this submenu. Defining a layout for your target through a reformat is quite simple. You start off by specifying a name. It's not necessary. DMXH will generate a default name. You specify the format for this new layout. So for HDFS, I would like it to be delimited, so the delimited radio button has already been chosen. And I just need to add the fields that will be added to my layout. So I just choose them from my left side and then add them to the right side. And I'm going to do the same steps for the other mainframe file, but through the magic of video, we're going to jump ahead. So I've completed defining my two tasks that are taking my mainframe sources and translating them to HDFS. And this is a good example of using the Edge node to do any initial processing. So again, think of any simple processing that you really don't need to use the cluster for. Use the cluster for the heavy lifting, and use the Edge node, leverage the Edge node for some simple jobs that really don't require MapReduce processing. So speaking of which, These sources that are now translated to HDFS, they are going to be used as part of a MapReduce job that is going to do a change data capture on the cluster. So I'm going to add that job that has already been predefined, and it is ready to use these two sources that have now been translated to HDFS. When I run this job, I want to make sure that I don't put the cart before the horse. So I don't want the change data capture to start running before the two tasks have had a chance to transform the mainframe sources to HDFS. So to make sure that I define an order of processing or a sequence, I'm going to add sequence arrows between the tasks and this MapReduce job to make sure they run in a specified order.